Hey everyone, welcome back to the Chem 115 video help series. This is part 3 in this section of instruction, and in this video I'm going to be talking about covalent bonding and covalent compounds. So, as we talked about in the last video, atoms bond together in order to make themselves more stable, by either each atom containing a full octet, or coming as close as they can be to one. Covalent bonding is a result of atoms sharing their electrons, rather than transfer, loss or gain of electrons between atoms, as with the case of ionic bonding. Covalent bonding generally happens between nonmetals bonding with other nonmetals. Now, with the sharing of electrons, sharing can either be equal, as with the case of nonpolar covalent bonding, or they can be unequal sharing, as with the case of polar covalent bonding. For an example of nonpolar covalent bonding, let's look at F2. As we can see, the reason that this pairing exists is because it allows fluorine to share their electrons with one another equally, and thus have a full octet by sharing their electrons with each other. This is how nonpolar covalent bonding generally results. Two of the same atoms bonding together. They must share their electrons equally with one another because they are the same atom. With polar covalent bonding, let's look at H2O, or water. This is a polar covalent bond because these will not share equally. They are not the same atom, and the bonds between hydrogen and oxygen are between two different nonmetals. So, electrons are shared unequally. The oxygen, wanting to gain 2 electrons in order to become a full octet, will pull the electrons in the covalent bond that it shares with hydrogen closer to its nucleus. Due to this, the oxygen will have a partial negative electric charge due to the unequal sharing. This is because of oxygen being more electronegative than hydrogen, which you do not need to know for this point in the class, but you will need to know later. But we'll talk about it later. The thing you need to know for right now is that polar covalent bonds have unequal sharing. The electrons will be drawn closer to one nucleus and away from the other one. And that in this example, oxygen is going to draw the electrons closer to it, so it will be the one, it will be the one to have a partial negative charge on it, which is symbolized by this, and hydrogen will be the one to have the partial positive on it, because its electrons will be pulled away from its nucleus and towards the oxygen. Sweet. Overall, some key points to remember about covalent bonds are that nonpolar covalent bonds involve equal sharing of electrons, whereas polar covalent bonds involve unequal sharing of electrons. Electrons are shared, not gained or lost. And finally, which I haven't mentioned yet, ionic bonds are stronger than covalent bonds. Sweet! Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope it's helping. Next video, we're going to be talking about the naming of these different compounds. See ya!